Close your eyes for a moment and listen. Really listen for the thick, unmistakable clink of an old 50-pence piece landing on a polished shop counter. Not the flimsy coins we toss around today, but a hefty, almost proud chunk of silver, cold in your palm. For those of us who grew up in 1970s Britain, that sound wasn't just background noise. It was a ticket to possibility. The 50p coin, newly introduced and oddly shaped, had a weight you could feel and a value you could truly trust. With just one in your pocket, you felt prepared, a little bit powerful even. But could that single coin honestly stretch far enough to fill your pockets, your belly, and your entire Saturday? Today, we barely notice a 50-pence piece, but back then it could unlock a world of treats, adventures, and choices, if you knew where to look. Let's step back and see what made it so special. To understand the true magic of 50 pence in 1974, we have to slip into a Britain that was both familiar and strangely unsettled. It was a year when the lights sometimes flickered out in the evenings, power cuts sweeping across the country, plunging streets and living rooms into candlelit quiet. Strikes and economic uncertainty loomed large, yet there was an unmistakable air of making do and muddling through, a resourcefulness stitched into everyday life. Prices climbed, queues grew longer, but families found clever ways to stretch what they had. Among all this, one thing stood out in our hands and our pockets: the new decimal coins. Just a few years earlier, in 1971, Britain had scrapped its ancient currency system. Goodbye to shillings, florins, and half-crowns, and hello to decimals. The 50p coin felt oddly modern, almost futuristic, with its unusual seven-sided shape and clean design. It was larger and heavier than most coins, with a presence that made you pause. No longer was spending just about folding notes or counting fiddly change. It was about handling this curious token of a new era. Decimalization didn't just change the coins. It changed the way people thought about money, value, and what a single coin could mean in daily life. And in 1974, that meant learning to see 50 pence as both a novelty and a small slice of power. But what could it actually buy you once you set out into the world? Step onto the high street of 1974 and suddenly that 50-pence piece takes on a life of its own. You could almost feel it burning a hole in your pocket, begging to be spent. The first stop, of course, was the sweet shop, a place that felt magical, perfumed with the scent of sugar, licorice, and those sharp, tangy sherbet lemons. Rows of glass jars towered behind the counter, each one brimming with color. A quarter-pound of cola cubes for 5p, a paper bag of fruit salads or blackjacks for a penny apiece, flying saucers that melted on your tongue, all for next to nothing. With just 10 pence, your hands could be sticky and your heart content. But if you fancied something more filling, the chippy called. In those days, a bag of chips might set you back 7p. A proper fish and chips, crispy batter, steaming white cod, plenty of salt and vinegar, perhaps 22p. Add a scoop of mushy peas for a couple more. Most people today have forgotten you could walk out with a full meal and still have change jingling in your pocket. Then on to the newsagent, where the world opened up in black and white and color. The Beano, or Dandy for 3p, a glossy football magazine for a little more, or the local newspaper if you felt grown up. Some would save a sliver for a lucky dip or a packet of panini stickers. After all, half the fun was seeing what you got. All told, 50 pence could spin out into an entire afternoon's pleasure, each stop a memory, each purchase a tiny adventure. What made it remarkable wasn't just the buying power, but the sheer choice, the feeling that, with just one coin, a child or adult could chart their own course through the week. And yet, the true magic of 50p lay in what it could do beyond the high street when it became the ticket to bigger adventures. Now, picture this. It's a crisp Saturday morning in 1974, and that precious 50 pence is burning brightly in your hand. For many of us, this was the weekly ritual. A little independence, a little freedom, all rolled into one shiny coin. A few pence would get you a return bus fare into town, jostling for a seat with friends, coats buttoned tight against the chill. The real excitement began at the Odeon, or ABC, the Saturday matinee where the queue snaked down the pavement, chatter rising with anticipation. Admission was 15 or 20p, depending on the film. That still left enough for a small box of popcorn or a carton of Kia Ora, the sweet, citrusy drink everyone seemed to love. The smell of popcorn and sticky floors, the flicker of the projector, the first strains of music. These were little luxuries that felt almost grown up. Some managed to save a few pence for a magazine or comic on the way home, extending the adventure just a little further. Could 50 pence really buy all this? Travel, treats, stories, and a sense of possibility? Back then, it did. The magic wasn't just in what you could buy, but in how you could shape your own day, one careful choice at a time. Yet, for all the simple pleasures, 50 pence could also unlock surprisingly big experiences, sometimes even more than a day out. Here's where memory really plays tricks on us. It's almost unbelievable now, but in 1974, that same 50 pence could open the door to treasures we now call bargains of a lifetime. For the price of a single coin, you could buy a small toy car, one of those sturdy matchbox models with wheels that seemed built to last forever. Saving pocket money for just a few weeks meant the possibility of a new board game, or even a paperback book from Woolies' busy shelves. Music lovers recall picking up a 7-inch vinyl single for around 45p, spinning it at home and feeling part of the wider world. Football fans could clutch their 50p and hand it over at the turnstile for a Child's ticket to the local ground, the crowd's roar echoing like nothing else. At home, those coins became practical too, slipped into the slot to top up the gas or electric meter, keeping the lights on and the kettle boiling. This wasn't just about things, it was about power and pride. Suddenly, a child's pocket money could mean something real. 50 pence wasn't just spending money, it was a key to growing up, to independence, to that first real taste of decision-making. But if the coins bought choices, they also brought lessons and memories, ones that echo long after the money's gone. Beneath the prices and purchases, it was the rituals and lessons around that 50 pence that truly stuck. Many of us can still hear Mum's voice as coins changed hands. "Don, to spend it all at once." It was gentle advice, but it carried weight. Earning your own 50 pence, whether through chores, a Saturday job, or helping a neighbor, felt like crossing a quiet threshold. You became trusted with your own decisions, responsible for your little piece of the family's economy. In homes where every penny counted, there was pride in making do. Children weighed up their options, sometimes stretching that 50p over an entire week. One day a sweet, another a magazine, another a treat for a sibling. Family discussions around the kitchen table often revolved around saving for something special, building anticipation for even the smallest reward. What 50 pence bought was more than goods. It was freedom, confidence, a chance to taste adulthood in miniature. It was learning to budget, to delay gratification, to understand the true worth of money. In a world that demanded resourcefulness, every coin was a lesson, and every purchase, no matter how small, felt like a victory. And yet, as we look back on these moments of thrift and simple joy, it's impossible not to notice how much things have changed. Fast forward to today, and 50 pence barely makes a dent. A stray coin for the parking meter, or lost in the sofa cushions. The excitement, the careful choices, the sense of anticipation that a single coin once brought have largely faded. Everything moves faster, costs more, and the world feels a little less patient, a little less magical. Yet, while the prices and priorities have changed, the memories linger on. We still smile at the thought of our childhood shops, our first independent adventures, and the warmth of family around the kitchen table. In the end, it wasn't just what 50 pence could buy, it was the sense of belonging, of learning, and of making do together. Perhaps that's the real treasure we carry forward, long after the coins themselves have slipped through our fingers.